So Assassin's Creed Rogue, or Rouge if you can't spell, came out in 2014. That was a year after Black Flag. Well, round 1 of Black Flag anyway. As you probably know, it has since been resynced. Rogue is a bit of a weird one. It came out after 3 and Black Flag, but it's sort of sandwiched in between them as far as the timeline goes, yet it isn't really considered to be a part of a trilogy. It's not really considered to be anything. It was slapped together in like a year. It's like half the length of a main entry. Now, this was back in the days when Ubisoft felt it necessary to kick a new game out the door every year. They found a cash cow and they started milking. That didn't end well, by the way. But as a result, we got games like this, a weird Diet Coke version of an Assassin's Creed game. Like, it's fun to play, but it's short. The story is interesting, but also a complete mess. Now, this might be a hot take, but if any game needed to be resynced outside of the first game, it's this one. The OG Black Flag is still really good. A half-baked game like this could really use some TLC. But I know, that's not how she goes. You remake the thing people like, so they'll keep buying it again and again. Why take a chance on a game like this? It's like one of the worst-selling AC games. This thing was tossed in front of the last-gen consoles of the time, and then immediately forgotten about. So, while everyone's having fun playing the Assassin's Creed game that people like, I decided to play the one that people forgot about, because I'm a contrarian and an asshole. So, at the beginning of the game, we play as assassin Shay Cormac.
My name is Shay Patrick Cormac.
As soon as you learn his name, this game starts zipping along. Like 5 minutes after you start, you already have your own ship and your own crew. Yeah, the story might have some pacing issues, but this is actually a positive if you ask me. Black Flag takes way too long to get to the pirate stuff, you know, the stuff that we actually care about. Anyway, we meet our fellow assassins. There's Achilles from Assassin's Creed 3, Adewale from Black Flag, video game character, Girl, and that guy. They make up the brotherhood that you will totally be loyal to. Now, I don't have a lot to say about this game visually. It's pretty on par for the series at this time. I guess it's closer to 3 because of the color palette. A lot of gray and wintry scenery in this game. Black Flag is just so colorful. This game does have its moments, especially on the water, but Halifax isn't quite as enticing as Nassau. Speaking of the water, that's definitely where the game shines. Naval battles return with a North American flair. Fighting in a blizzard is actually pretty awesome, and the ship-to-ship combat still looks great. There's plenty of moments where this game is just Black Flag Iceberg Edition. And it's a lot of fun to play and look at. The inverse of that, however, is the land sections. 18th century New York looks fine and dandy, but it's not a visually appealing era. It would be fascinating if you had a time machine. As far as visuals go, it can't possibly hold a candle to Renaissance Italy, or ancient Greece for that matter. That's not really a fault of the game. It's more a limitation of the setting. 3 had this issue as well. Sound design is also just fine. Clash of swords, pounding cannons, crash of waves. It's all there from Black Flag. One thing I hate though is how the music seems so underplayed.
Could be dangerous.
What, that's it? I'm trying to swash my buckles over here. That theme should be cranked over every naval encounter full blast the entire time. The voice acting's fine.
What happened here? Our men were attacked by some English sea dogs.
Let's face it, no one's here for these performances. We're here for that buckle swashing. And of course, at center stage, we have the shanties.
A poor old man came riding by, and we say so, and we know so.
They return from Black Flag as well. I couldn't tell if there are any new ones though. I'm certainly not going to hunt down all of them. I've already got Sally Brown, and she's lovely down below.
Lovely on the foreyard, she's lovely down below, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row.
Speaking of hunting down these shanties, I know I'm not alone in this, but all these collectibles do nothing for me. I can't be bothered to look for even a third of all this shit. And what psychopath is trying to get 100% synchronized on these missions? Like I said, now I just ignore all this garbage. Back in the day, it used to actually bother me. I'd have to collect everything as I went. I think that's why I got so burned out on this series around this time. That and the parkour. It's mostly fine. Mostly. But so often I end up jumping off things or dancing around them. And I swear Shay climbs slower if someone's aiming a gun at him. I do prefer this combat system to the modern one. I don't like the level-based system. This game is back when things were simple. A gun was a gun. A sword was a sword. Just parry and counter and kick some ass. I don't want to min-max in a fucking Assassin's Creed game. I want to crash my ship into another ship and shoot the captain in the face with a puckle gun. Anyway, I guess I should talk about the story, for whatever that's worth. Now, for anyone that hasn't played these games, there are basically two stories going on at once. The fun part with the historical characters and actual gameplay, and then the modern day one. The latter used to be interesting. I was pretty into it back in the day, but Kristen Bell was expensive, and I kinda lost the plot. And by Black Flag, we were left with this.
Zipper, chipper, overachiever?
You walk around as a low-level Ubisoft, Abstergo employee, basically testing the game, in the game, while you play the game. Confused? Who cares? This part of the game is shit, and they zip through it as fast as I can.
Zipper, chipper.
We used to have like real characters doing this stuff. I don't even know if these people are real characters in the series anymore. Is there even a modern day story in the new games? I don't play them, I wouldn't know. Nah, whatever. For the part of the story that matters, Shay learns things he should have already known as an assassin, and he's eventually given the important task of finding an ancient artifact in Lisbon, Portugal. When he finds it, he discovers that it's not an artifact at all, more like a Control-Alt-Delete button for everything around it. This virtually destroys the city, and Shay barely escapes. Not so fun fact, this is based on an actual event. There was, in fact, a huge earthquake, followed by a tsunami in Lisbon in 1755. It's estimated to have killed almost 40,000 people and destroyed nearly 85% of the buildings. So Shay's rightfully pretty broken up about it.
So what's the next city you want me to smite? What happened in Haiti happened in Portugal. A great earthquake. Thousands dead next to your damned manuscript!
But the assassins want to keep poking around these things.
But we don't have the right to decide that future.
The right! We have the responsibility!
Shay decides it's in the best interest of the world if he takes the map that shows the location of these things and removes it from these insane murderers. They don't like this.
Jay!
He's left for dead, but is rescued by the evil Templars, who turn out to be not that bad.
I want to see these colonists safe and prosperous.
This guy even has cool glasses. Once Shay sees the value in fiscal responsibility and a stable economy, and that black and red go together very well, he decides he's fully on board with their cause. Again, I'm torn on the pacing of this game. On the one hand, it's nice to just get to the good stuff. On the other, it's a pretty sharp heel turn. Like, yeah, your friends tried to stop you from stealing a powerful ancient artifact. That can't be too much of a surprise. But then again, you'd think Achilles would, like, stop and think for a second. Maybe that these city-destroying earthquakes might not be worth the risk.
The operation was delicate. Perhaps
You are shifting the earth itself. Who are you to decide what city falls next?
get him out of here.
You sent Shay there on his own. You'd think maybe you could take his word for it? Anyway, it's all worth it because we get to see the legend himself, Haytham Kenway. He's this guy's kid and this guy's dad, and he don't take no shit. Daddy Haytham is the best character in 2 of these games, but even he can't elevate this story past mediocre. Spoilers, I guess. You can probably figure out where this story's going even if you haven't played it. So there's like a box that shows the location of more earthquake buttons. Ben Franklin figures it out using the power of science.
It's a map.
Both sides want the box. There's also like a manuscript? I don't know what it does.
Templars stole 2 precious artifacts. A manuscript of ancient wisdom and a box that allows one to understand its language.
You need both to make the map come out, I think? They don't explain this at all. In the battle over these things, you end up taking out your old friends. Adewale, Rip Bro, that guy, girl. Eventually, you track down Achilles and video game character to the Arctic. At least there's no cities to destroy up here. Shay and Daddy Haytham wreck everyone's shit until the blow-up button gets hit. You chase down your former ally. your best friend. Eat shit. Hatham is about to end Achilles, but to avoid a time paradox, Shay tells him no, so Daddy Hatham just gives him a flesh wound. In real life, that would have gotten infected and he would have died before reaching civilization. But he has to be in Assassin's Creed 3, so whatever. Flash forward another 16 years. Shay meets up with Ben Franklin, who is still slinging that D well into his 70s, by the way. A true American hero. Shay takes out some French guy and properly sets up Assassin's Creed Unity, everyone's favorite broken Ubisoft game. So how does this game stack up to the rest of the series? Meh. It's definitely not a bad game, it just doesn't do anything better than the others. You want to be a pirate so bad, well now you got 2 other games to choose from. You want to cause some colonial chaos and meet more celebrities?
I am fine, George.
Run, it's George!
Now you got Assassin's Creed 3. I do like the addition of these stalker enemies. They were pretty unique at the time. They're super underused though. This game takes place during the French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War if you drive on the wrong side of the road. These are perfect enemies for a Native American faction.
Surprise, motherfucker!
You only get to see them in action in like 1 mission. Bit of waste there. That's what I mean when I say this game needs a resyncing. Just rework it into a Last of the Mohicans, Pirates of the Caribbean mashup. I mean, why not? All the pieces are there. Whatever. Is this game worth playing? Yeah, if you find it on sale. You won't get much out of this story.
Or not.
Or the characters. But it is fun to play. Just turn your brain off.
Chipper, chipper.
And remember what it was like when people weren't tired of this series yet. Thanks for watching. I ramble about other games and industry trends too. You should go and watch them all. Like and subscribe if you dig it. That would be so cool of you. You would be way more popular if you did that. Moo.